Aum. 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 Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Aim Saraswate Namaha. Om Shri Guruve Namaha. Blessed Self, adorations, divine blessings to each one of you and your near and dear ones. Our humble Sashtang Pranams at the holy lotus feet of Pujya Gurudev, Pujya Sri Swami Jyotirmayananda Ji Maharaj of Yoga Research Foundation, Miami, Florida. To Param Gurudev, Pujya Sri Swami Sivananda Ji Maharaj, and to all sages and saints of the entire world, our pranams. Today is day 9. Satsanga, the 4 Gatekeepers at the Palace of Liberation by Pujya Gurudev, Pujya Sri Swami Jyotirmayananda Ji Maharaj. And the topic today is free intellect from domination of ego. So let's see, how do we free our intellect from the domination of ego? So yesterday we had completed with the Gyan on that by properly purifying the intellect through Vichar. Vichar is spiritual inquiry. So we are continuing on the second pillar out of the 4 gatekeepers, and that is Vichar or spiritual inquiry. So by properly purifying the intellect through Vichar, spiritual inquiry, and allowing the intellect to regain its strength, you can defeat ignorance, which like a lion has rendered everyone like a rabbit. There is no remedy greater than Vichar for all the torments of the world process. So do spiritual inquiry for any problem that may be coming in your life. And also, I want to explain here that ignorance does not mean that you don't have the knowledge. It means inadequate knowledge or wrong knowledge. They say half knowledge is dangerous. That's what it means. If you don't know something, it's better than knowing half of it. So you end up doing wrong anyways. Or maybe worse are wrong than something that you don't know about. So continuing on, free your intellect from the domination of ego. In the majority of people, the intellect is left unexercised and unused. God has given the best gift to every human being, a lamp much more powerful than Aladdin's lamp. All too often, though, it lies in a corner, gathering dust, encrusted by dullness, delusion, anger, and hate. As long as the ego dominates one's personality, the intellect is not properly used. All too often, It whirls furiously only to serve the ego's demand to eradicate anything and anyone who appears to cause the ego trouble. Intellect remains the servant of ahamta and mamta. Ahamta means me and mamta means mine. So what's in it for me? And also this is mine. So the intellect becomes a servant of that. Even little kids nowadays, they are so clever. They are born so pure, humble, but very soon they learn to snatch, to grab from another baby, saying, even though they can't talk, they still grab it, telling that it's mine. A philosophical life begins when you free the intellect from ego's domination. When you begin to enjoy possessing a serene intellect, unattained by the ego's anxieties, it is like having a head without headache. You feel light. Everyone's intellect is tinged with ego, creating a chronic low-level headache. Such an intellect wants only to apply balm and sit in darkness. At any prosperity or success, the first thing a person does is invite guests and have a drunken party. In adversity, the intellect becomes similarly obscured. In this way, the ego insists on keeping the intellect in darkness. When the ego's domination diminishes, however, the intellect begins to reflect on who am I and guides you towards your essential nature. So, no me and no mine. It's thine. Everything is thine, O Lord. And you and I are one. When you reach that higher state, to some extent, me and mine, you are separate from me. And then you say, I am your instrument, O Lord. I am all yours at the last. Then when you realize that you and the Lord are one, then even that instrument thought gets out of your mind. But again, when you do actions, take Lord's name and say, oh Lord, you are the doer. I am the flute in your hands. The next topic is the egoistic I am versus the real I am. You can be aware of your legal entity, your name, your nationality, and the time of your birth, but this identity is based on lack of Vichar. However, as your intellect becomes purified, you become deeply interested in discovering who am I and experiencing I am Brahman. I am the all-pervasive reality. So many people have such a hard time even saying that. I always hear that. How can it be? But then the fact is, the self, the Atman abiding within the cave of our heart is the spark of that supreme consciousness. The ray coming from the sun is the sun. So similarly, this Atman, this self, the soul, coming from the Supreme Soul is the Supreme Soul. So the I am in your daily life is like a wave. We have to use that word, I am, but not in the egoistic way. Mine, thine, I, we. In the regular world process, we have to use it, but not with ego. Okay, it's mine. I possess so much. I have a good job. I do this. I'm better than others. That is egoistic self. So the I am in your daily life is like a wave. The real I am is like the ocean. The wave does not realize that I am the ocean. I am part of the ocean. Only I inflate and deflate. So when you lack purity of intellect, your mind builds up the erroneous notion of the little I am. And the ego is fostered in you. As long as you cling to the little ego, life is miserable and you are always agitated. However, when the intellect shines with the light of truth, your attention shifts from the little ego to the absolute, and this works miracles in your personality. This transformation does not happen all at once, but gradually. So make sure you have patience. This transformation does not happen all at once, but gradually. If you were insecure, you become secure. If you were weak, you become strong. All other weaknesses also gradually vanish. So all the troubles and turmoil of life arise because the mind clings to the little ego. The mind is never at rest as it strives to protect that ego. There is an instinctive urge to help the ego, to protect, sustain, and make it eternal. Of course, all these efforts are in vain. Think of a moment about the sun in the sky and the reflection of the same sun in a little jar of water. The reflected sun is not the abiding reality, even though it shines like the real sun. Same thing with the moon. So it is changing, trembling and shifting according to the nature of the water. Similarly, Brahman is the divine self that shines like the sun. The ego is the reflected self, a reflection of the divine within the conditioned waters of your mind. That ego is erroneously considered to be the I. In day-to-day life, the mind tries to protect and sustain it. As a result, desires build for wonderful property, lots of money in the bank, and the admiration of those around you. Your mind tries hard to achieve all these, but to your great and shocking surprise, the ego is never pleased. However hard you try to protect yourself from any future calamity, you realize that your ego is not yet safe or secure. There is always fear and insecurity, always inimical forces. From life to life, you are unable to satisfy the ego. In this vain process, karmas are created that keep you trapped in the world process. The ego rises in your mind like a fever. When you have a high ego, your whole personality suffers. If you are creative or artistic, every talent within you diminishes. When the ego relaxes, you become inspired. When you are truly successful, you do not assert your ego. You become shy. When you are not successful, you look to others for recognition. When they do not recognize you, you build up anger, hate, and animosity. Just a little reflection allows a person to understand that the ego is not their real self. Yet, the vast majority of people spend 99% of their life involved with that little ego. From morning to night in our modern culture, you hear arguments and bitterness towards others. However, when you go to sleep, the little ego fades away. The unchanging I am is the same when you sleep as when you are awake. How can you hold on to that vision of the unalterable I am and turn away from the alterable trembling I am? This shifting of the mind from the little ego to the universal I am is true religion and spirituality. Therefore, Vichar, spiritual inquiry, enables you to make this shift. It will make you realize that everything that you earn in this world is going to be left behind. There is no point of competition. Live within the means. Be contented with what you have. Work enough for your needs and a little bit extra to be able to share with others, rather than trying to build up your bank balance and build up your one house, two house, three houses, and better and better and better vehicles. So you have to be contented with what you have. Be an average person. And like King Janak, he was a self-realized saint also, but he was a king. He possessed so much because Lord has given him, but yet he didn't have any ego. He didn't have that mindness. He kept giving and giving. Any time when he was tested by his guru Ashtavakra, he asked him to give the kingdom to him, like his guru Ashtavakra said, "Can you give me your kingdom? Renounce it." And King Janak, right away, he renounced it, gave it to his guru, and then he sat at the feet of his guru. And then after he attained the knowledge, became egoless, the test from the guru was there, but he passed. And then the guru gave back everything he had. So many times tests come in your life. It may not be your guru, but someone else taking away your stuff, because your ego had inflated so much that you kept collecting and collecting, and you forgot God. You drifted. You went away, not doing your prayers, but you taking one job, two job, working hard, and not taking out time for charity, for selfless service. So God so many times teaches you, brings you in that position to know and realize God and what you were born for, why you were born as a human being. And human beings were created to know their creator. So walk on the path of integral yoga and make this life successful with self-realization as the goal of your life. Hari Om Tat Sat. divine blessings, love, light, healing, lots of prosperity and auspiciousness. Prosperity not in the worldly stuff, but also in spirituality. So may you prosper and your family, your near and dear ones, prosper in spirituality and your profession and your worldly life with all positivity. Let us pray for every being in the entire world, for everyone to have enough of food, water, shelter, and be healthy. Sarvesham swastirabhavatu, sarvesham shantirabhavatu, sarvesham purnam bhavatu, sarvesham mangalam bhavatu, sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu niramaya, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः. This is Swami Lalita Priyananda, Sacramento, California. Hari Om Tat Sat.